Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Valley of Death once again. And this time around I'm going to be playing with the 12th SS-Panzer on the Axis side with the balanced deployment type. So previously I showed off this map on the left hand side. I thought today it would be fun to show off a game on the right hand side, so I'm going to be utilizing the strong ranged engagement of the Panthers today under the command of the 12th SS. We will have to be careful who we're up against though. As you can see on the enemy team, there is a third guard. So if we come up against a third guards in an open range engagement, we'll then have to start using the light cover to get side shots and potentially close range penetrations onto IS-2s while trying to avoid their one-shot kills onto my Panthers. If it's up against the 15th, then it's worrying about the 17-pounders and Fireflies, or Challengers I think they get later on. And then CAABG should be an easier time up against those Cromwells, especially since I am starting here with 2 Panther Ds, which is something I wouldn't do too often, but this right hand side of this map is very open. There's a lot of open ground, particularly on this far right side. On the left there's a lot more sight blockers in these buildings and small tree lines. So let's have a quick look at what we got going down. We got multiple units of Panzergrenz going to be moving up. It's the only infantry squads that I'm going to be using. They have really good ranged fire support with the double MG42s. I've got 2 PaK-40s. One's going to be going on the left here to cover the town, and the Aufkader will be supporting those. Then I've got a Flak 36 and a Grille. So Panzergrenz are going to have to unload pretty quickly here to avoid getting killed off by these Assault Pioneers, but the Assault Pioneers not close enough to do the damage, so the Panzergrenz take them out nice and easy, and the Daimler does get sniped by the Panther. IL-2 coming in here with the Napalm, actually missed the strike early on, but manages to get a nice couple kills there, especially killing the leader onto Jagdsource's forces. So my Focke-Wulf 190 was coming in to try and respond to that, but my Flak 36 manages to force it off regardless. So the Focke-Wulf not going to be able to kill the IL-2. On the right, the Aufkader now in position. I'll unload those shortly as the Panther moves up. Got to be careful with the Focke-Wulf. You can see I'm trying to evade the enemy AA there, whilst Harbinger, he's trying to use smoke to close the range onto the Panzergrenz, but my other Panzergrenz unit did have a different angle, so we were in luck. So that SPW-222 going to support these Panzergrenz with the 20mm autocannon, and the Aufkader here going to be able to provide exceptional optics onto the units coming on this right hand side. So that is a Churchill 4 and a Churchill 6. The Churchill 6 going to have the APHE, and the Churchill 4 has the APCR that can actually do a lot of damage to the Panther at close range. And the nice thing about these Churchill 4s is if they can close that range, they do have really good rate of fire. So 12 round per minute rate of fire compared to the 6 round per minute rate of fire of the Panther D. So I've really just got to make sure that I kill off that Churchill 4 before it can close the distance, which should be relatively simple since they are very slow. Meanwhile, my Focke-Wulf on the left hand side, they're going to be strafing the guards to help Jagdsource get positioned in the town. You can see the Panzergrenz engaging all of the enemy rifles opposite us. These rifles not standing a chance since they only have the 1 Bren machine gun. Churchill 6 also going to be going down now as that Panther getting plenty of kills. Harbinger looks like it's going to be very dependent on these 25-pounders early on, but we do have good line of sight on the one on the right-hand side here thanks to the Aufkader. So we can see roughly when that's firing, which is going to be kind of handy as we continue the push forwards with the Panzergrenz. All these rifles just not able to hold the ground. The best thing for Harbinger to do in this situation would be to have the rifles sort of in the buildings on return fire so that they don't reveal themselves unnecessarily until the Panzergrenz are within range of the Leonfields, and then at least you can trade some damage. But at long range you can see the Grille now supporting the shots across the open onto those squads, launching shells over the Panther, and then the Panzergrenz just able to continue moving forwards with that close fire support. That poor rifle gonna take that shot and down it goes. Now one interesting thing about this right hand side that you might have noticed is I haven't actually captured any flags yet, because the flags are actually quite far back. You see the flags here and the flags here. Now that is very close to the enemy spawn on the far right side there, and these ones are actually quite far back from the 50-50, which is roughly this road right here. Unfortunately for me, the scouts are going to spot my ALF cutter, which is going to force me to move them back. The Vickers HMG trying to get the kill there, but not quite allowed to do so. Crusader AA is getting line of sight onto the Panzergrenz though, so that's not good, as the Panzergrenz are being stopped from making ground. But the SBW222 still in a good position to kill off the rifles with the Piat if they get too close. And this could turn around very, very quickly if my Panthers die to something like a 17-pounder. So whilst this may look pretty dire for Harbinger, these Panther Ds are the core right now, and without them, his armor can potentially overwhelm mine. But we're going to be able to get a direct shot here onto the 25-pounder Harbinger, deploying those a little bit too far forwards. On this map, it's not actually that long, so you want to make sure that you don't deploy your artillery too far forwards. And that's what Harbinger has made the mistake of doing here, because a guerrilla there that's got to the halfway can shoot all the way to his 25-pounder on the backside, and that has caused him to lose one already. Now the 222 trying its best to kill off the Crusader AA Mark II. Churchill 5 going to be coming around the corner though, and a Piat going to be having a go. Piat does indeed miss, as that is a very stressed squad, but with the help of the 20mm on the Crusader AA, the HE damage does eventually get the job done. Second 222 going to be following that up though, and on the right hand side I now have a guerrilla here that's going to help me clean out the infantry that was on this side. So Crusader AA goes down, guerrillas smashing the rifles with Piat. On the left hand side, the Pak 40 is able to help against Vector here, as his Sherman does move up in the town, gets caught out by that Pak 40. 222 now looking to take out the engineer leader, as Harbinger going to rely on his Typhoon now to strafe the 222. But my guerrilla now finding the shot onto the second 25-pounder will prevent that from killing off my Pak 40. But still no flags taken. The guerrilla is going to have to back up from the Churchill 4 until the Panther can get in line of sight. So just trying to kind of weave a shot in between these buildings to make sure that I can kill those off and allow my other units to continue on their merry way. Vickers HMG on the right hand side does get spotted, so guerrilla will help take that out, and I also saw the scouts here previously, so I'm actually going to be fire positioning those to hopefully kill those off. Meanwhile, Panther D does help take out the Churchill 4, and the Pak 40 takes out the Churchill 5. So Churchills dying all over the place here. I feel like the 15th is a very difficult division to play these days, with all of the newer divisions coming in. But yeah, 12th SS certainly having a good time right now, as we have not seen any 17-pounders. Now guerrilla smashing the 6-pounder on this bottom side, just making sure that we have that course. So the two Panthers leading the way, covering the Panzergrenz as they move up. We've got plenty of recon amongst this, and then we've now got 3 guerrilla able to take out those AT guns at range, because as I mentioned multiple times already, the 17-pounders are the real threat here, and we're going to want to be able to shut them down as soon as we see them. Pak 40 on this left hand side now being RT'd by Vector instead, as he does not like me flanking his position with that, I imagine, as this IS-2 could be vulnerable to a side shot if it moves too far forwards. But I'm going to be continuing to take advantage of our early wins by moving Panzergrenz quite deep up these roads. Daimlers being now called in. Might be able to snipe a few transports and just slow things down a bit, but unfortunately just getting picked off now by the 233, and my Panthers trying to get into a good position now to cut off this spawn road. Another AT gun to worry about, as my Panther D did end up taking a penetration here. Slightly damaged from the Churchill 4 engagement. At close range, the APCR is more than enough to penetrate. Pak 40 on the ridge is now taken care of. And when you're playing in the center of the map, especially from this direction, making sure that you keep this locked down is super important. You can actually place like recon in the church, and that should be able to see units on the ridge here. But we're going to be bringing in Kretschmar now. It's one of the aces for the 12th SS. Has some battle-worn damage on it, which is pretty cool. He's going to be coming up and supporting the left-hand side. Meanwhile, our pushes are being held back by this off-map artillery, but another Churchill fort taken care of by the Panther D. Still 12 to 12, however, as we're struggling to make enough ground to capture this flag on the left-hand side. So things relatively even across the map as Jagd and Vector push and pull through the town. I'm no longer really affecting that engagement as my Pack 40 isn't in line of sight to help engage there. But we spot the off-map vehicle, the Churchill OP. And we're also going to be seeing the rifles here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to want to make sure I get rid of those if I can. Trying to move up the SBW 233s to spot things as well. Any infantry they come across, I can just hit them at range with the HE, and that will do plenty of damage over time because the 233s do have that 12 round per minute rate of fire. So actually going to be bringing up an Opel Blitz because I noticed my guerrilla here getting low on ammo. That's just where I've been fire positioning it a lot. Panzergrens do finish off the rifles with Piat on the backside building, and that's finally going to collapse the front line enough that we're going to be taking one flag in our favour. So we're now 13 to 11, still 33 minutes left on the clock. Panzerschreck on the left hand side actually gets sniped by Kretschmer here. So nice kill for him, just needs to be careful of the IS-2 firing back, which would be absolutely deadly. The IS-2 can one-shot even my Panthers with their main gun, so do always have to be aware of that. So rifles would be pretty decent at close range because the Bren does have the move and shoot capability, whilst the Panzergren can't use their MG42s at close range. So rifles always going to be winning these engagements, so that's going to be a little bit awkward for me. But recon vehicles moving up on the left. One of the true strengths actually of the Axis forces is their recon cars, and abundance of them, especially with like 20 mils and the 233s. 233 is really good value for money. So that's working out really, really well. On the left-hand side, Kretschmer taking out a half-track for Jagd, so that's helpful. And then we've got Wirbelwinds now coming up. So the other way that we could get shut down is Typhoons. We saw one Typhoon strafe me already. But alongside the air support of potentially the other divisions in this game, we want to try and avoid that as much as possible. So Wirbelwind's now being brought up to support the Panthers. You can see that this Panther is also looking for a cheeky side shot onto the IS-2 as well. I'm trying to advance that forwards in order to get line of sight, because the next flag that I would want after this one is the one further to the left, as the one on the right is going to be difficult to get to as it's kind of close to the enemy spawn. So here we go. Enemy Typhoon coming in with those rockets, does manage to take out the Panther D, and that was just what I was worried about. Unfortunately, the Wirbelwinds haven't reached the front line in time, so we are going to have to sacrifice that one. Also, 222 did die to the Daimler, so that was unfortunate. And now we're going to be engaging the ISU 152 down here with the Panther D. Nice kill. Putting some good pressure onto Vector from the side here, which should relieve Jagd and allow him to get into the town. So now looking for shots onto the Su-76s on the backside. Those managed to kill off my Pack 40 previously, so if I'm able to kill those off, that would be fantastic. But one's going to absorb a shot, as they do have that 10 health. We're able to take it out with the second shot, however. That's certainly going to reduce some of Vector's artillery capability. He then notices that those are being fired upon and manages to retreat the second. Afkada moving up on the right hand side, unfortunately going to get spotted by the rifles appear at range, so I'm going to have to fall that back as this Panther D replacement has not got into position just yet. But two Panthers now going to be on this right hand side, the Panther D Führer and the Panther D, and then we've got the Panther D on the left that's just being a nuisance for Vector. I've also got Kretschmer up here actually engaging the M4 Sherman. That's actually going to get taken out on the left hand side in the meantime. We've also managed to get Pioneers up into these trees, so that's working out really well for us. We've moved from a 15 to 9, as this flag is now under our control. And I believe on the left hand side, Grim Guy had managed to force his infantry into these buildings. All of these poor disheartened infantry trying to move forwards into position. It is straight into the Valley of Death. Alright, scouts finally taken care of on the right hand side. Other 222 of mine is going to get taken out as I try to rush it forwards down this road. But as an IS-2 is coming in from range, I am going to have to be careful, because that IS-2 will have the capability, as I mentioned, to one-shot the Panther D. So I'm just going to preemptively fall that back. My Aufkader here are going to be able to just sit on the edge of the hill, provide me with good recon information as a chance to potentially pin those later down, or side shot those later down the line. I'm still going to be careful, of course. Harbinger still putting on the pressure down here. Churchill 6 on the way forwards, Churchill 5s trying to pin down as much infantry as possible. But we still haven't had to be worried about 17 pounders. Rifles of Piat still hanging out on this bottom side. I will need to get rid of those, and I want to move my Wirbelwind away from those just in case the Piat does come out here and take them out. I was tempted to use the Wirbelwind to try and engage them, but the 250 meter range on a rifle, the 200 meter range on the Piat is a little bit misleading sometimes. Like, it looks shorter than it actually is, and so you can get caught out by it. Alright, Typhoon now coming in for the rocket strike onto the Panther D. This time around, the Wirbelwinds doing their job absolutely beautiful. Love a bit of a Wirbelwind firing away. Not often you see the Wirbelwind because they're in so few divisions in Steel Division 2. So getting them in on the action is always good fun. You see the line of sight here, a little bit dodgy. Gonna have to move the Panther D further to the left to get the shot onto the Churchill 6. Once we do, should be curtains. It's a 2-vet Panther D, so it's going to have a decent amount of rate of fire. Now this is going to be a little bit of a problem. Churchill 4 at closer range is definitely an issue for the Panther D. As I mentioned before, it has the APCR that can penetrate, and it also has a rate of fire. So as you get closer, it's actually going to be a relatively more even matchup for the Churchill due to that APCR. But we're going to take the opportunity to shoot the Churchill 5, of course. Pioneers here getting forced back by assault pioneers. Flamethrowers beating my HE, unfortunately. A Kretschmer taken out on the left by the IS-2. We're going to be able to get a shot onto the Sherman there, but unfortunately the IS-2 clocks my Panther D as well. The 2-vet on that IS-2 really paying itself off, giving it that extra accuracy, because the main gun accuracy is usually very low, like 35% on the AP shell. So in managing to kill Kretschmer and then my Panther straight afterwards was kind of unfortunate for me. But here we have our classic Panzer Grenadier push. Panzergren's being supported by their half-tracks and engaging the rifles. The rifle's going to get pinned down very quickly indeed by the amount of machine guns being put down range. The Panzergren's pushing up. Half-track just firing on those to keep them pinned. And we're making ground. So the key here is to make sure that my Panzergren spot the Churchill so that I can control the engagement with the Panther D. And on the left here, I'm just going to have to leave Jagd to his devices up against the third there. But Tiger on the way. Second Tiger, actually, because we already have Whitman on the field. Whitman is very cool in this game. I love the camo. It's a very, very nice model in-game. So he's rolling in to try and get some kills. Churchill 4 has been discovered by the Panzergrens. And the Panther D ready to pounce. 259 also going to be joining the action. Really good 20mm autocannon unit. Here we go. Just going to potentially kind of force this. There isn't really much reason for me to force this. You can see I've turned off the HE and the MG34 to make sure the Panther D only focuses the Churchill. But, of course, there is potential for there to be rifles of Piat in here, in which case things can get a little bit ugly for the Panther D. But so far, just standard rifles, and then there pops out the rifles of Piat. I am going to still take the shot, as the 259 is ready and waiting to help out. We do take a spalling hit, though, which is unfortunate. The second shot manages to get fired in time, thanks to the 2 veterancy. And the other thing about that is I moved the 259 forwards enough that the Churchill 4 targeted it first and then had to retarget on the Panther whilst the Panther was already aimed in. So that's what allowed us to take that engagement at close range there. Now we just use the infantry to clean out their infantry. And that will allow us to maintain our hold on this flag on the bottom side. So 17-7 now across the map. We did lose our influence over this flag due to Vector reinforcing this area quite significantly, but yeah, getting good value out of the Pak 40 position on the hill again, killing off another of the Emchers. So 259 now going to be rolling in with the Panzergrens. Typhoon HE coming in. Does get some rockets onto the half track, doesn't quite hit the mark on the infantry, but the infantry is still going to want to fall back. And the nice thing about the skull icon is it means they're fanatical, and the fanatical trait means that they can't be surrendered. So even if they are fully pinned at close range with enemy units, they're not going to surrender, but you of course don't want them to sit there and get fired upon as well anyway, because that will just get them killed over time. So the Piat here must have just been out of range to engage the 259, and the 259 going to absolutely demolish those with its 20mm autocannon. Typhoon coming over the town now, getting absolutely ripped out of the sky by the Verbal Winds. Another Typhoon going to come say hello. Verbal Wind looking for the target there, but managed to pull off at a high enough altitude. So we're managing to hold off the approaching forces here. What I was hoping I could maybe do is get the Panther to sit on the road, and then the reinforcing road, we can probably end up like killing the reinforcement before they get into the tree line, then we can sweep through the tree line and clean it out. That was kind of what I was thinking there, just to try and prevent more shots coming in from this right hand side. But that is now a Churchill 7. Churchill 7s do have that 150mm of frontal armor, but the Panther at this range, with its 185mm penetration gun, going to make short work of that. Unfortunately, the Typhoons do get revenge, as the Verbal Winds struggle to shoot down the second one. Another Typhoon now coming in. Verbal Winds weren't really close enough, unfortunately, to get the job done on those Typhoons. Otherwise that potentially could have been 3 kills. But now I've got the Werflammens in. This is a staple of the 12th SS. They do get access to a lot of these Werflammens with the 280mm HE rockets. Now these things can be absolutely deadly if they are used in unison. So you can see that I'm putting this on return fire so that the other Werflammen can come up here and help engage that, and then they can fire at the same time or potentially get the kill there. But it's just really counting on Vector feeling safe in this position. If he moves back, he might get hit. If he moves forwards, he might get hit. So it's a bit of a weird spot for Vex's forces there. I think he did just take out the Pak 40, so there's no rush for him to move. But since he hasn't spotted my Werflammen, he doesn't know quite what's coming. And as soon as that's going to be aimed, we shall unleash. And away they go, launching those Werflammens into the Valley of Death. There they go. The IS-2 and the ISU trying to react. One rocket hitting the mark there, the second and third actually killing the IS-2 very quickly indeed. And that's the beauty of the Werflammens. Now the 17-pounders making a show of it. Surprised we didn't see those sooner. as it certainly would have stopped my Panthers from making so much progress for my Panzergrenz. Now, a lot of my Panzergrenz have been taken out on the bottom side. You can see this Panzergrenz struggling to hold its position as well. Yeah, these 17-pounders, I think, were the key early on to holding us back for longer. Of course, I'm going to be able to use the guerrilla here to try and pin that down at range, and that is the benefit of having 2,000 meter range HE. Can fire position just short, and the blast should allow you to pin down the enemy units. Enemy off map coming in once again. This time around, actually hitting the mark there onto the Panzergrenz. The Wirbelwind is actually in trouble as well. That quite vulnerable to the top attack of that artillery. Panzer IV is still in position though, so that's okay. You see the guerrilla here forcing that 17-pounder to move backwards. I was trying to use the Aufkada to try and spot that 17-pounder, but the rifles were seeing it in the open. The Wirbelwind doing a fine job here with both its machine gun and its quad flak-filling. Typhoon actually coming in there with the HE rockets to try and take it out, but didn't quite manage to do the job. And since it had taken quite a lot of damage, it does get shot down. And diving into AA, not really the best move unless it is entirely pinned, just because your aircraft will take more damage. The 222 taking out the rifles there, and we're able to hold off this little counterattack on our side. Meanwhile, these Werframens ready to go. You can see we've now got 4 of them on the field. These are the 2 that I already had, using the veterancy to make sure they reload faster. And then I've got 2 more that are going to be heading to the right hand side that might allow us to clear out these tree lines. I'm just going to be trying to launch them on the backside, but since the artillery of Jagd already came in there, I decided against it. So we're just going to spread out the rockets instead. Try and open up a way for Jagd to just push all the way through and grab that flag. 222 meanwhile finding another unit of rifles appear. And the Commonwealth forces struggling once again. Here go the Werframen rounds. Should just completely open up the front for Jagdsource. As the rockets take out the guards, clean out any infantry and vehicles on the backside here, and Jagd's going to take that flag nice and easy. Now going to be launching these Werframens away. As we are getting close to the end of the game, I was just kind of launching these whatever I could see or whatever I thought there would be an enemy unit. So just going to be smashing this area to pieces. And we're also going to try and hit this tree line as well. And that way we can just prevent any enemy capture onto this flag. Now Panther getting into position. Same position as before, just slightly further back. We do have the Wirbelwind like really quite far forwards. So any aircraft that come in to try and dive the Panther should get taken care of. And if I had more time, what I'd probably do is get some more Panther Gs that could sit up on top of this hill, because with their APCR, it has 1,750 meter range with 250 millimeters penetration, so they can quite reliably engage the IS-2s at that range. So these Werframen are moving to the upper blitz that I brought in earlier to resupply the guerrilla. These 2 still got their 6 left, so we're just going to be driving them past the commander here to make sure that they get their reload faster. But unfortunately not fast enough to fire again, as that is going to be victory with the 18 flags. A major victory after 28 minutes and 18 seconds, but a pretty fun game, and nice to explore the open area on the far right side of that map. 2,850 kills to 1,145 losses for Harbinger. Just need more 17-pounders, I think. And yes, maybe my Grillos would have found a way to kill them off, but it certainly would have slowed down the game quite a lot and allowed him to get his Churchills into position, maybe with the addition of smoke from the 25 pounds or something. Having the 25 pounds a little bit further forwards there, probably just due to Harbinger's lack of knowledge on the map, because the map was still new when we played this. So both sides were kind of learning the best way to play it out. But with the 12th SS, landed on a good division and managed to get the job done. So you can see here just how effective the Grille, the sort of recon vehicles are being, as well as the Panther D making sure to kill some of the more heavy targets that we'd be coming up against. So overall, really nice combined arms push to secure the win. But that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.